Hello world, this is Random Fix. In this video today we're going to be discussing the Subaru drive cycle. So if you have a Subaru, you are going to go and need one of these OBD2 readers. They connect right underneath your driver's side footwell area. The connector is the one I'm touching here, the white one. Yours may be a different color. And once you go ahead and connect the OBD2 reader, which I'll have a link to in the video description box below, make sure your ignition is on. Your OBD2 reader has power, and you're going to check the monitors of your vehicle using that OBD2 reader for the duration of this video. Hello world, this is Random Fix, and in this video we're going to be discussing 1996 and newer Subaru drive cycles. So if you have a Subaru that needs to get a monitor ready or all the monitors ready, I'm going to show you how to do this from start to finish. And before we actually dive into the drive cycle, it's better to know some vocabulary. And one of the very first terms that we need to understand is OBD2. So this is actually the new protocol that started in 1996, and before 1996 every vehicle manufacturer had their own port, and it was a big old mess. So this is actually a great thing, and you can get these OBD2 readers here for under $30. I'll have a link in the video description box below if you don't own one. When you see the word DTC or diagnostic trouble code, understand there's pending codes and hard set codes. A hard set code is one where the computer has actually gone ahead and verified the information and has triggered your check engine light on, versus a pending code where a computer knows about an issue, however it needs more information before it can make a final judgment and possibly trigger your check engine light on. MIL stands for malfunction indicator light or lamp, aka the check engine light, the service engine light, the service engine soon light. When you're using an OBD2 reader, you're going to run across some terms here. One of them will be complete, or it might say set or ready. These all mean the same exact thing. You may encounter an INC, and this basically means that it's incomplete, unset, and not ready. And an NA basically means that it does not apply to your vehicle, so go ahead and skip that monitor. I have 5 monitors right here that are listed, and this is the normal order that the monitors actually set in. So the very first monitor to set, it's going to be the oxygen sensor heater monitor, and this basically is the heater that's built into the oxygen sensor to get the oxygen sensor up to speed faster so the vehicle could do a better job of controlling the emissions. We have the oxygen sensor itself, and with oxygen sensors on a typical 4-cylinder vehicle, you at least have 2. So there's going to be one before the catalyst, and that is going to be called a pre-CAT or upstream oxygen sensor. And right after the catalyst, you have the post-CAT or downstream oxygen sensor. There's the EGR monitor. You have the CAT monitor, and some people might say their CATs have gone bad. They're referring to the catalytic converters on the vehicle. And so the catalytic converter is the part, and the CAT is the actual monitor that might be displayed on your scanner. We have EVAP, which stands for Evaporative Emissions Control Systems, and in short, this keeps the gas fumes out of the atmosphere. And as a helpful tip, when you're doing this test, it's really good to use a timer, so have a separate timer with you because it'll make the test a lot easier. And here's a few technical parameters on the Subarus. So your check engine light has to be off. And I strongly recommend that you do not refuel while you're doing the test, so make sure that the gas tank is 3/4 full. And if your gas tank is not 3/4 full, you need a minimum of 1/4 of a tank. And do not shake the vehicle while you're performing the drive cycle, because shaking the vehicle basically increases the gases in the tank, which can make it harder for your vehicle to figure out that that monitor is actually ready. And don't perform any services or do any changes as you're doing the test. And the day you're going to go and perform the drive cycle, you want to make sure that the engine coolant temperature is between 41 to 113 degrees, and your intake temperature should be between 41 to 122. So if you're living in an area that doesn't have these temperatures, you may need to park the vehicle inside of a garage to go ahead and maintain these temperatures. The night before, make sure you lock your vehicle. Keep the keys far away from the vehicle because a lot of these newer vehicles actually sense the keys, and we want to make sure the car goes into a deep sleep before we actually do the drive cycle. So this is the drive cycle here for the Subarus. First thing we're going to make sure is the gas tank is at that 3/4 full, and the vehicle has to be parked over 10.5 hours with the outside temperature being between 40 to 113 degrees, and the intake air temperature range is going to be between 41 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And make sure you park on a level surface. You're going to start the vehicle, let it idle for 20 seconds, and after 20 seconds of idling, you want to go ahead and drive the vehicle for 15 minutes at speeds greater than 50 miles an hour. So you want to go ahead and make sure you lock it in at 55 miles an hour. And when I say lock it in, don't use cruise control. Make sure your AC is off. If the radio is not needed, turn it off. So try to avoid all loads. And also avoid any sudden acceleration, hard braking, or lane changes. Step 2, you're going to go ahead and drive the vehicle for 60 miles an hour for 15 minutes now. And you want to go ahead and make sure that that throttle or your gas accelerator is not really shifting and is constant. So find yourself a nice open flat road to go ahead and perform this test on. And if you need to adjust your speed a little bit, the allowable range is 50 miles an hour plus. So I would be able to do the same exact procedure here at 55 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour if I wanted to. But you want to make sure that you stay above 50 and don't let your speeds vary more than 2 miles per hour whenever possible. Step 3, we're going to go ahead and coast, which basically means we're going to remove our foot off the gas pedal and we're going to coast to under 50 miles an hour without touching the brake or shifting. And the way you do this is try to go ahead and time your drive cycle during off-peak hours and try to use a freeway off-ramp. And sometimes you may have to use your hazards just to be cautious. And step 4, you're going to go ahead and stop the vehicle all the way and turn the ignition off, turn the ignition back on, and you're going to use your scan tool or your OBD2 reader that I showed you earlier in the video, and you're going to look at the status of the monitors. And if any of the monitors are unset, you're going to go ahead and perform the following. The same conditions that were here are going to be met. So the gas is going to be between 1/4 to 3/4. We're going to go ahead and park for 10.5 hours and make sure that all these conditions as far as the temperatures outside are met and that we're parked on a level surface. This time we're going to go ahead and start the vehicle and let it idle until it gets up to operating temperature or at least 150 degrees for the coolant. So you're better off doing this 1 minute more than 1 minute less to make sure that you really got that temperature to 150 degrees. Most vehicles, when they warm up, when the dial on your temperature gauge is right in the middle, is going to be in the range of about 180 to about 200 degrees. So if your temperature range is right in the middle, you're far above 150 degrees, so you're good to go. Step 2, we're going to go ahead and drive for 30 minutes here at speeds of 30 miles an hour. Step 3, we're going to go ahead and coast to under 15 miles an hour without touching the brake. Step 4A here, we're going to go ahead and turn the ignition off and we're going to check the monitors. And if those monitors are still not set, we're going to go ahead and jump back to step 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to start the vehicle and just perform the same exact steps back down. So this is kind of like a loop. And when you're done and all your monitors are ready, you can go ahead and guarantee that you're going to go and pass that emissions test as long as you haven't altered anything on the vehicle, and you can pass the visual inspection. I'll cover the visual inspection with you guys in a little bit. And I wanted to point off a couple of things from this slide right here about the inspection monitors or the IM monitors in order. If you're running across a situation where your oxygen sensor is not getting ready, please don't try to go and set the catalytic converter monitor. You normally want to try to follow this order here. The last one that normally says is the EVAP. However, the very first one that needs to set is the oxygen sensor heater and oxygen sensor, because after these two set, then the catalyst monitor can actually set. So if we go back to the slide here, what really helps with setting the oxygen sensors is the warm-ups. Those are crucial to the oxygen sensors. The coasting really helps with the EGR, and the fuel levels, parking on a level surface, not subtly accelerating, avoiding lane changes, and sudden braking really helps set that EVAP monitor. So you want to make sure that you follow those kind of ideas when you're doing the drive cycle. And if your catalyst is not ready, what really helps with the catalyst is that high speed, constant speeds driving over 50 miles an hour. Hey guys, really quick, if you're finding this video to be helpful and you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing to the channel as well, as it lets YouTube and me know that I'm doing a good job and bringing you guys value content. Thanks. And once your monitors are set, you're ready to now go and get the vehicle smogged. Remember, if your vehicle is a 96 through 99 vehicle, you will have to get the vehicle tested on a dyno at 15 and 25 miles an hour. They're going to use a gas analyzer to test the vehicle's emissions. They're going to test your gas cap. They'll do some other tests, and they're also going to do a visual. Even if you have a 2000 and newer vehicle, they're going to do a visual. But on a 2000 and newer vehicle, they're just going to check for the OBD2 readiness. So they're going to plug in their OBD2 reader into the vehicle from the state and check the monitors. Remember, the visual inspection consists of checking for altered parts like cold air intakes, throttle spacers, cracked vacuum hoses, missing catalytic converters. They're going to do a visual smoke test to make sure that you don't have clouds of smoke coming out the tailpipe. And as of the end of 2020, this is the current rules here for California, and California happens to be one of the stricter states, so you have to check the regulations for your own state. Here in California, if you have a 96 through 99 vehicle, you could have any one monitor show incomplete and still pass. Now, depending on the smog station, they may just go ahead and plug in their OBD2 reader is not connected to the state, see that you have a monitor that's incomplete, and tell you to keep driving, because they don't want anything to come back to them to show that on their record for the shop showing that they passed X amount of vehicles with unset monitors. So if that happens to you, go to another station. And if you have a 2000 and newer vehicle, only the EVAP could be unset. And with diesel powered vehicles 98 through 2006, basically all the monitors have to show complete. On newer diesel vehicles 2007 and newer, you can have any two monitors show incomplete. And remember, when you're selling a car, it's the seller's responsibility to make sure that they supply the buyer with a smog certificate. And normally there's no way of waiving this requirement unless you're selling to a dealer or dismantler. So even if you write as is on the title, that doesn't really mean anything, because if it goes to court, you're most likely going to lose that suit unless they're a dealer or a dismantler. And if you're a buyer, never buy a vehicle unless all the inspection monitors are ready. And 99% of the times, if the inspection monitors are not ready, is because somebody has erased that check engine light on purpose to cover up an existing issue, whether it's a dealer or a private seller. And 1% of the time is caused by a weak or faulty battery. And if this is the case, you still have to find out why that battery is dying, because you could have a potential short, you could have an alternator, and when there's a bad battery in a vehicle, all kinds of funny things start happening, from smog emissions monitors not getting ready to transmissions acting up, and it's a big list of potential issues. And here's my top 8 tips to pass an emissions test. The very first one is going to be, make sure that you smog right the very first time. So if you know your vehicle has an issue, you want to make sure to get that issue fixed before you try to go and smog the vehicle. And you should never really fail an emissions test, because with these simple scan tools, you can verify that all the monitors are ready. And before you go to the station, you can just do a simple plug in, and it'll let you know that the car's inspection monitors are ready. And you can do this with confidence, knowing that you're going to go and pass now, because any failed emissions data will get reported to Carfax and AutoCheck, and this can actually reduce the value of your vehicle. Number 2, you want to make sure that the check engine light is off but working. So before you purchase a vehicle, put the key in the ignition and turn it to the very last position and verify that the check engine light is there. And I've seen people actually remove the check engine light. 3, this really helps with those 96 through 99 vehicles. You want to make sure that the tires are properly inflated, as this will lessen the load and will allow the vehicle better operations. The same thing with the oil here. The oil actually contains a lot of the hydrocarbons, and since they're going to be doing a real emissions test using a gas analyzer, you want to make sure you reduce the hydrocarbon numbers here, and this is a simple oil change. And tip 5, you want to go ahead and take the vehicle for a very long test drive before you reach the emission station, and leave the car on if possible before you get it tested with the emissions probe. Tip number 6, use some fuel additives. I personally love the Lucas Oil upper cylinder loop. You'll find a link to this in the video box below, as well as anything else that I showed you guys in the video. Tip number 7, you want to avoid wet weather, and this is not to say that you cannot pass an emissions test with it raining outside. However, you'll just get much better results if the tires are dry. And tip number 8, do not disconnect the battery unless you have a battery saver device set up, and these are about $15. And basically this will keep your car's computer data, your clocks, your radio stations all in sync. And remember, the only real solution oftentimes is to repair or replace the component. So there's no such thing as a miracle in a bottle. But if you're looking for a quick fix for your catalytic converter, just because maybe you don't have the time or money to go and have that issue fixed, I have a couple of videos down in the video box below that cover such products, and I'll give you guys my honest and truthful review of them and some preventative tips here. I love doing everything myself, so if you can try doing some of the simpler repairs yourself, like the engine oil changes, transmission fluids, differentials, changing the filters, the engine air filter, the cabin air filter, the fuel filter, if you clean your throttle body, change the wipers, and do the brakes on your own vehicle. This is such a nice thing to start doing, because the more you learn about a vehicle, the better off you're going to be as far as taking care of it. And what I have found out from my own experience of working on cars over the last 27 years is the time that I actually save doesn't even compare to the amount of money, because a lot of people will go and get their oil changed at the dealer, and that could take 1 hour or 2 hours. Most of the times I'm able to change the oil on my vehicle in under 15 minutes. So not only did I save between 60 to 80 bucks, but I saved myself at least 45 minutes of not having to wait around, and I got it done, and I can go move on with my life. If you guys found this video to be helpful, please comment down below. I would love to hear your feedback. If you guys got any suggestions, please leave them below. I really appreciate you guys watching. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner right here, as well as clicking on that little notification bell, so anytime I post videos that are aimed to save you time and money, you guys will get notified. I really appreciate it. Thanks again.